On today's episode of the Harrison Vapnek podcast, we're bringing on Dieter Kurtenbach from the San Jose Mercury News to talk about the 49ers trading up from the number 12 to the number 3 overall pick. We're going to talk about who they're possibly going to take with that number 3 pick. Is it going to be Justin Fields? Is it going to be Mac Jones? Is it going to be Trey Lance? Stay tuned for his answer. We're going to talk about what Jimmy Garoppolo's future is, if he's going to stay in San Francisco long term, what's going to happen with him. We're going to talk a little bit about Kyle Shanahan and what the future is, how San Francisco's championship window is still pretty open, and also Dieter's a Mizzou alum, so we're going to talk about his day here in Columbia, Missouri with the Tigers. So a lot to talk about with Dieter Kurtenbach, a really great podcast. So sit back, relax, and tune in to the podcast with Dieter starting right now. Now welcoming on from the San Jose Mercury News Bay Area News Group. You can hear him weekday mornings on the Locker Room app. Dieter Kurtenbach, also a Mizzou alum. Dieter, welcome on.
Whoa, thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it. And Locker Room got bought today by Spotify. So
congratulations.
Yeah, I wish it was congratulations. We'll find out. We'll find out just how many congratulations come my way. And we'll see if they renew that contract now that they're a big multimedia conglomerate and all that crap. So just for now, let's go with Mercury News, because who the hell knows with Locker Room and who the hell knows with KMBR. But appreciate you having me, man. Always glad to talk to another Tiger.
Of course, future possible Spotify employee Dieter Kurtenbach will be introducing the next time you come on. Mizzou alum, I've had too many Syracuse guys on. Not enough Mizzou guys out there. It's just, everyone I reach out to, Syracuse. It's great to have another Tiger up there.
Podcast is only going up from here, man. I mean, now that you got on some more Tiger love, it's that Syracuse is keeping you low, and now just straight to the moon.
So let's jump into some 49ers stuff. You are one of the top 49ers reporters for the San Jose Mercury News.
Yeah.
Made a big splash on Friday, moving up from the number 12 pick to the number 3 overall pick, giving up a couple of future first round picks to go get Miami's number 3 overall pick. What was your initial reaction to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan trading up for that pick?
It makes all the sense in the world. At the same time, because nobody saw it coming, it was stunning. It was stunning. This was a team that before they made this move was very much stuck in the middle, right? They have Jimmy Garoppolo, who's good but not great. Certainly, as we learned in the Super Bowl in 2020 or the 2019 season, whichever one you want to call it, not good enough to win you a Super Bowl. He was god-awful in the fourth quarter, and he hasn't been healthy. He's missed 48% of the games that he's supposed to have played since he signed his massive contract. So they couldn't trust him. They couldn't trust him in a variety of ways, and they have an excellent roster. They did better in free agency than they expected, and they were kind of stuck with this quarterback who, again, when you can't trust your quarterback, what's the point of playing? What are you doing here? So they're going in. They're going all in. And this was something they said they had planned for a while, that they were going to bring in a young guy, but they've mortgaged now the future. They took out a third mortgage on the future, man, with giving up these first round picks. So they have to really like one of these 5 quarterbacks, 3 of which will be available to them, given just the way that it looks like it's going to go. And you know what? Credit to them, man. They're taking control of their own destiny. And that's crazy to me. I mean, that's just one of those things where you can sit and wait and hope that something happens for you. You can go out there and take it. And they decided they're going to go out there and take it. They might get their asses fired because of it, or they might end up winning a couple of Super Bowls because of it. I don't know if they find themselves in the in-between, but I appreciate a front office that's willing to push their chips to the middle of the table and say, let's boogie. Let's see what we got here. And they will be judged based on how well this rookie quarterback eventually plays.
You mentioned that they had this trade prepared for a while. Were you hearing anything in the weeks leading up that they were possibly going to go make a move, either if it was for 3 at Miami's pick or Atlanta's 4th or Cincinnati's 5th? Were you hearing that they were going to move up and make the trade?
Nothing as it pertained to 3, 4, and 5, right? So when Adam Schefter came out with the news on Friday morning, it was sometimes you get news from Schefter, right, and the main newsbreakers of Woj, and you go, okay, the shoe has dropped. This is close to what's expected. Let's compare it to what's expected and kind of move from there. But you have a rubric ready to go in your head of the story. You have a rubric of what it is that happens now, because you've been building up to this. we hadn't been building up to this. They were operating completely in the shadows, and credit to them. The first thing that Shanahan and Lynch did when they showed up in Santa Clara, San Jose, San Francisco, we can keep expanding out until we get to a place where somebody knows. Is they plugged every leak in that building, and I hate it. I hate it personally, but that was something that they had to do given the prior regimes in Santa Clara, which were just, I mean, they were faucets that just pouring all day, every day. It was like Harpo's in there. And
great reference.
Hey, if I didn't know it so well, I wouldn't have been able to make it. But it was, they don't have any of that leaks. Now, here's what I can say. This package is really similar to a package that I had heard was being shopped towards the Houston Texans for Deshaun Watson. So obviously a little bit more, but very similar. So it was, given the Deshaun Watson situation, let's just leave it at that, the situation that he has going on with him right now, I think that the 49ers looked at the scenario, said we needed to get a quarterback. We were going to go all in on Deshaun Watson. Let's pare it back a little and let's go all in for a rookie quarterback. We like 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. And let's see which one we can get. And the earlier we move up, the better chance we have of getting that guy. So that would be the only sort of forewarning that I had, or that anybody had, is that this package, again, 3 first-round picks. With the Watson one, there were some additional day 2, day 3 picks, maybe a player involved. It wasn't really, there was no give and take with the Texans. So it's not like we knew exactly what Houston wanted. This was the 49ers cold calling Houston. But that package, I feel, turned directly into this package for the number 3 pick in their future quarterback. So that was the only forewarning that we got. And it would have been a little bit of a jump, though I'm sure somebody made it out there. Somebody was able to deduce how this was going down, seeing the Deshaun Watson situation deteriorate in real time, and then look at, the situation that the 49ers had. Once you've gotten to the point mentally where you're willing to give up 3, 4, 5, draft picks, and 3 of them being first rounders, you might as well use it. You don't work your way into that place and then don't take advantage of that capital. So we'll see. We'll see.
Before the trade happened, even before Deshaun Watson's incident, as you call it, I thought the Niners were going to make a move for Deshaun Watson. I thought, the pro offense he ran in Houston, I think it was a perfect fit for what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch wanted. Obviously, things have happened in the time since. So now Niners are sitting at number 3 overall. We figure Trevor Lawrence is going to go number 1 to the Jaguars. Almost botched that. We think Zach Wilson's going to go number 2 overall to the Jets from what we're hearing. Yeah. Now the 49ers are basically on the clock at 3. And you're sitting there, you're looking at, Justin Fields from Ohio State, that last 2 years, Big Ten Player of the Year. You're looking at Trey Lance, the best division FCS quarterback maybe we've seen in the last 2 decades. And then you're looking at Mac Jones, who, was just the Heisman finalist and led Alabama to an undefeated season. Who do you think the 49ers are leaning towards with that number 3 overall pick?
It's Fields. And the reason that it's Fields is the reasons that it won't be Lance, and the reason that it won't be Jones, right? Fields represents the best balance of any quarterback available if it does go 1-2 the way that we expect, in that he has the high level upside. You watch Justin Fields and you can see things that can be refined, things that can be fixed. At the same time, he was a spectacular player at Ohio State. He just ran a 4.40. This is a guy who can extend plays with his legs. This is a guy who has the arm talent to make any throw on the field. Those kind of players are extremely rare, and he's tough. He's polished. He's won big games against high-level competition. Those are all the things that you would be looking for. And it's hard. It's hard to make an argument for Trey Lance while he might project better, right? If you really want to put on your thinking cap and say, what could Trey Lance be in 3 or 4 years, especially in the wake of Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, you think, wow, that could be really spectacular. Josh Allen finished second in MVP voting this year. At the same time, Josh Allen going into this year was still a big question mark for the Bills and everybody else in the NFL. No one knew if he was any good. And the only success that he had was him essentially playing H-back in the Bills offense and just running dudes over. So his ascent while perhaps predicted by the Bills and not by others, given the lack of success he had at the college level at Wyoming, with all those physical tools, you go, well, we can turn him into something. It took 2 years to turn him into something. And the 49ers can't waste 2 years. They can maybe waste one because they still have Garoppolo on the roster. But now you have a rookie. Now you have a rookie who, yeah, he sat for a year, but can he come in and, blow the roof off like Patrick Mahomes? Mahomes is the exception to the rule. Allen is the exception to the rule. And then with Mac Jones, when you're drafting at number 3, when you give up 3 first-round picks, you should probably take a guy who has elite physical traits. I like Mac Jones a lot. I think that he is going to be a rock-solid NFL quarterback. I really do. But he doesn't do anything special. There's nothing special about him except for what's in between the ears. And that might end up being the most valuable thing of all. But it's not as if, Justin Fields is working with a bag of rocks in there either. He's a smart, sharp kid. So you're looking, if you're drawing it up and you're trying to find yourself a guy who could be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL, a quarterback who can individually win games, take your team to the playoffs every year, the way that a Russell Wilson does, the way that a Patrick Mahomes does, the way that a Josh Allen turned into, just a guy who is a dude, a guy who's in the MVP running, you're not taking a Mac Jones. You're not. You're not getting much of an upgrade with Mac Jones as compared to a Jimmy Garoppolo. So you don't mortgage the house, mortgage it again, and then throw in another mortgage so that you can get a guy who is a marginal upgrade at best, who will certainly help you in year 1, but ultimately it isn't a dude who is ever going to compete for MVP. Whereas Lance he very well could. He could end up being the best quarterback in that draft, no questions asked. He has all the physical traits. But Fields is the guy that you have to feel safest with, and Fields is a guy who absolutely has MVP talent in his bones, and he can help you now. He's going to help you later, and you don't have to hold your breath and hope that it all works out as much with him as compared to the other guys. So it's got to be Fields. If it isn't Fields, those two guys are going to have a very long explanation. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to have a very long press conference of just people being like, so wait a minute, why, what, huh? And I don't think that they want to do that. And while they don't make decisions based off the press conference, I don't think any of those questions would be unjustified. And I'm certain that they're asking the very same questions right now. So yeah, it will be Fields. It will be Fields at 3, unless Fields goes at 2, in which case it will be Wilson.
The Mac Jones thing is interesting because it's, come out this week that the rumors are that, that Kyle Shanahan, they like Mac Jones because of the pro style offense. And people like Chris Sims, who had Mac Jones 2 weeks ago ranked as his number 3 overall quarterback. Sims was, I think Peter Strager said this was Kyle Shanahan's roommate in college. There's people like, Dan Orlovsky saying the same. Dan Orlovsky saying the same things, who played under Kyle Shanahan. And now the rumors are circling around that there's Mac Jones, who they could have possibly drafted at 12. Now all of a sudden you're trading up to 3. It has the draft day plot to it. Your thoughts on the Mac Jones rumors? Is it too much?
Yes, it's too much. So what happened is, because no one saw this trade coming, what they were doing was they were applying previous thinking to a new environment. And this is the biggest issue that I have in general with sports media as it pertains to the NFL draft. The NFL draft is a wildly fluid situation. Nothing is static. And to go in there and to hold things sacred, right? Like to say, well, Mac Jones at 12 would be a good pick. Very true. I think he would have been for the 49ers. The 49ers felt like they were not going to get anybody at 12. That's what Kyle Shanahan said yesterday, that they were not going to be able to get any quarterback that they wanted at pick number 12. So they moved up. And so what all of these analysts are doing, and what Chris Sims is doing, what Dan Orlovsky is doing, is they're applying double past rhetoric to the situation. Yes, Mac Jones, if he's the best available option there at 12 at quarterback, because all the 4 other guys are gone, makes a lot of sense for the 49ers. So a lot of people had anchored their thoughts to that notion. And then they go, well, why would that work? Well, it would work because Mac Jones runs a fairly pro-style offense, right? He runs some things that are very similar to what Kyle Shanahan does. It should be noted that he doesn't run any bootlegs whatsoever at Alabama, and that he has marginal He has no elite physical traits whatsoever. And that seems like a problem. So when you're not running bootlegs, I don't know how much you can say it's a Kyle Shanahan offense. That's kind of the thing with the Kyle Shanahan offense. But when the trade happened, no one saw it coming. So they move up to 3. And then everyone's like, well, they must really like Mac Jones, because those people are anchored to Mac Jones at 12. And they're anchored to this notion of what Kyle Shanahan has wanted in the past. And I'm around. I mean, I'm not around anymore because no one's around anybody anymore. But I hear Kyle Shanahan talk 4 times a week, 5 times a week. We don't have a relationship or anything, but I'd like to think that I got a good read on the guy from this point on. And we heard throughout the year, just because questions were continuously asked about the quarterback position when your quarterback isn't starting, we heard throughout the year Shanahan be honest about the fact that the game is changing. And the game is requiring more athleticism in the backfield. And yes, he wanted Kirk Cousins back in the day. But Kirk Cousins and Mac Jones are 2 different beasts too, even though they're very much the same thing. They're also one of them is
it's the same picture.
It's the same picture. At the same time, one picture is significantly older and with more experience and has been through those battles before, as opposed to doing that with a rookie who you don't know. You don't know if that guy actually has it or not. So I just found it. Listen, I appreciate anybody who's willing to put their opinion out there and go strong, but I have to find a way to mute Dan Orlovsky from my life. Basically, my general stance on it, and I'll just be blunt. If Dan Orlovsky says something, I immediately believe the opposite of that. He has been running through the back of the end zone with his analysis for the last 3 years. The only reason he has that job is because he lives close to the studio. I mean, legitimately. So
what about Sims though? What about Sims? Because Sims has been right about these guys for the last couple of years.
I listen. It's difficult for me to slander Mac Jones because I was the guy in the Bay Area media who liked Mac Jones the most. Like, I was the guy who's like, listen, Mac Jones is pretty damn good. I really like Mac Jones. I think he's a good quarterback. I think that there's something about him that I can't quite place that makes me think that he could be special for no reason. Tom Brady has no great physical traits. He's also the greatest quarterback of all time. I don't like playing that game where you're just hoping to find the next Tom Brady, but it might be Mac Jones. I don't know. And so if he was there as the 5th quarterback on the board, I would have been comfortable with that for the 49ers. I would have felt like that would be a good situation because I know Mac Jones can be a backup today, and I think that he can be a starter tomorrow. And so it hurts me to, constantly be going in, but like Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Justin Fields is ludicrous and stupid. It's stupid. And it's this antiquated notion of what a quarterback is. The NFL is such a copycat league, right? And so we have currently a lot of people with the Trey Lance stuff. I don't see it in Trey Lance, if I'm being totally honest, but ultimately that's what, okay, great. It's just one person's opinion. Same to you. Everybody's allowed to have it. And all it takes is one person's opinion in a place where they actually have a pick. And there it is. So, I'm someone who believes in the level of competition. I saw his game against Central Arkansas and how crappy he was. That concerned me at a pretty deep level, but that's me. And again, I can understand the projectability with him 100%, but we're in such a copycat league in the NFL. And what's happening is a lot of people are just taking the most recent evidence and applying it to the future as if that evidence wasn't in some way surprising. Like everything was just preordained. No one, as great as Tom Brady is, halfway through the season, we're like, the Buccaneers are trash. This thing hasn't worked out. And then they go on a bye week and Tom Brady's like, I'm the captain now. And he took over and they just didn't stop winning. They won every game from that point on. It was incredible. It was awesome. I also thought that the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl by like 13 points. So it shows what I know and what we all knew. And it was a stunning Super Bowl win by the greatest of all time. And now everyone's like, you see, you don't need a running quarterback. Tom Brady did it, as if he's not the exception to the rule. Everyone looks at Josh Allen and goes, you see, what you want is the biggest, strongest, and fastest, as if Cam Newton didn't deteriorate right before our eyes. And we have him in New England last year, just looking like a shell of himself. It's all this. There's no, how do I put this clearly? It'd be great if some teams in the NFL actually had principles about what it is they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be great if there weren't so many teams just immediately reacting to the flavor of the week. And I do believe that the 49ers, maybe more so than a lot of teams, are one of those squads. And I know that Kyle Shanahan's opinions about what it takes to win at quarterback in the NFL in 2021, in 2022, in 2028, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see how much it changes, has changed because he's gotten his ass kicked by running quarterbacks again and again and again. He plays in a division with Russell Wilson. He plays in a division with Kyler Murray. The 49ers have been penalized 30 times in the last 2 years by those guys sliding so they get an extra 15 yards because some guy taps their helmet. You need to change the game a little bit. You maxed out with Garoppolo. You're not getting a quarterback because now that Watson probably never going to play again, you're not getting a quarterback that is in any way going to be better than Garoppolo. You can't afford one. You can't trade for one. So what are you going to do? You got to create one. And this is the best route to create one. And I think it sets them up long term. But again, it was a lot of people applying logic that worked for the 12 pick and applying it to the 3 pick. And that is a whole different beast, as evidenced by how much the Niners had to give up.
The ironic thing about the late hit thing is when Jimmy Garoppolo got late hit in the Super Bowl, they didn't throw the flag on that 3rd down or whenever. No. I think that was a 3rd down. Back to Jimmy Garoppolo. He's the other side of this equation.
Yeah.
Gets traded on Halloween night in 2017, wins all 6 of his games for the 49ers that season. Really implies some good momentum into the 2018 season. Tears his ACL week 3 against the Chiefs when he was having a decent start to the season. 2019 is the magical year.
Yep.
They go 13-3, goes to the Super Bowl, has a double-digit lead against Patrick Mahomes. Everyone knows the history from there. And then 2020, the season from hell for the 49ers, everyone gets hurt, including Garoppolo, Samuel, Kittle, Bosa in week 2. Everyone's down. What's the future hold for Jimmy G?
I bet he's traded to the Patriots in the not-too-distant future. That's my bet.
Okay. Despite the Patriots saying that the rumors that I don't believe that they're not interested.
Yeah, despite those rumors. That's my bet. I wouldn't be stunned if Chicago got involved either and sent back Andy Dalton as a placeholder, right? Like, okay, Andy Dalton, you just signed. We're going to trade you here. I don't know if that's actually feasible under the CBA. I need to check that out. But
I think Foles would have to. They have to go Foles.
Oh boy, well then that's definitely not happening. So it's Jimmy will be just fine, but Jimmy is not going to be the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers in the year 2022. 2021 maybe, and I don't know if he finishes the year or not. I was on KMBR last night and was asked by the great host Mark Willard, why do you think that it's okay for the 49ers to basically, just kind of wing it with quarterback next year? Because if you start Jimmy and you play him the whole year, that's fine. If you start the rookie the whole year and you trade Jimmy, that's fine. If you do a Tua situation like last year with the Dolphins, that's fine. Like, there's no problems here. They can do whatever they want. And honestly, the worst option, it seems to me, depending on who you get, because if it's Lance, then you have to start Jimmy the whole year. I just don't think Lance is ready, and he won't be ready until way late in the season. And at that point, you might as well just take the whole calendar year. If it's Fields, it'd probably be ideal. If it's Wilson or Fields, it'd probably be ideal to start a veteran and then transition those guys in so that you're not rushing them, right? Like, you don't want to have a Tyrod Taylor situation where his lung collapses and guess what, Justin Herbert, you're now the starter, and then he just kind of stays the starter. But with Jimmy, the likelihood is fairly high that one part of his body will determine when the rookie starts, just given his injury history. But I was asked, why it's acceptable for the rookie to play next year when Garoppolo would be the best option. And I just don't agree with that assessment that Garoppolo would be the best option. And I don't think the 49ers do either. I think that you have to feel really strongly. And again, I think they feel very strongly about Fields, so I can't say that with impunity or certainty. You have to feel really strongly about a guy to trade 3 first-round picks for him. And if you feel that strongly about a guy, I think that you'd feel fairly comfortable playing that guy, I don't know, around now. Like, I don't think you feel so strongly about the future of a guy like Trey Lance that you're like, oh, I feel really strongly about this guy. I have to trade for him today. but I won't play him until next year or maybe the year after that. It just doesn't feel congruent with me. So you have to feel really strongly about the guy. And if you feel that strongly about the guy, you must think that he can give you equal or even better quarterback play than what you're currently getting. You just don't make a trade like this. You just don't go all in like this. The luxury, or I'm sorry, the salary cap implications are one thing, but you don't worry that much about the salary cap when you're trading away 3 first-round picks. So I'm just of the mindset that the Garoppolo thing will get figured out. He's a lame duck. He deserves to be a lame duck, full stop. He's going to, if he finishes out the season with the 49ers, he'll get paid $108 million by them. He will be traded to a place where he will be a starter. He will still be preposterously handsome and a guy who went to a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo will be just A-okay. And I think the 49ers will be better without him because he can't do what they need to do, which is win the Super Bowl. That's the only thing that matters around here.
Hypothetical. Go on.
Yeah. No. All you.
Hypothetical. If let's say the Niners are going to run the clock in that Super Bowl, they give the ball to Raheem Mostert more. Let's say they finish that game off and win it. Do they still trade the 3 first-round picks for that number 3 overall pick, or is Jimmy Garoppolo the face of the franchise for the upcoming future?
That's a great question. It doesn't happen now, but it might happen later.
Okay.
Right. If everything else remains the same, if 3rd and 15 isn't completed, if, all these things, if just certain things don't happen in Miami that night, which, by the way, all led to the coronavirus pandemic. I'm totally convinced of it. It was
Patrick
the last
Mahomes
thing.
Started it.
Yeah. Listen, that Mahomes guy is really good, but he also brought the world to a halt. I do think that this is inevitable. I think the nature of how the 49ers got to the Super Bowl, I think, was the most telling aspect of it, right? Kyle Shanahan, and listen, when you can just run the ball down a team's throat, why throw it? Not to go full Bull Schembechler and, say that there's 3 things that can happen when you throw the ball and 2 of them are bad, but he doesn't trust him. He doesn't trust him. He doesn't trust him to know the offense inside and out. He doesn't trust him to stay healthy, and he doesn't trust him to not throw the ball to the other team in big situations. I don't know if winning the Super Bowl is going to ultimately change that for Kyle Shanahan. I don't think winning the Super Bowl by, again, as you put it, giving the ball to Raheem Mostert more changes that paradigm of I don't trust my quarterback. It does change the narrative around the team. And I do think that it's impossible for any executive or coach to avoid the narrative and to pretend like they don't hear it. They hear it. How much it affects them to be determined. But I do think that this would have been inevitable. They would have gone through this season. They wouldn't have made this trade. And then they would have been in a situation that honestly would have been trickier for them, because I have a hard time believing, unless things go really wrong again, that this team is ever going to pick in the top 15, 16 of a draft again. They're too good to do that, right? And you think about the catastrophic stuff that's had to happen for them to draft 9th to get Mike McGlinchey and then get that 12th pick that they had this year. I mean, everybody had to get injured, and they had to play CJ Beathard at quarterback in both of those seasons. And even then, so it's one of those things where they're not going to be in a position to draft a franchise quarterback again. And had they waited another year, which they absolutely would have had Garoppolo won the Super Bowl, because this would not be front of mind. He gets injured last year. Well, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They would have dragged it out a little bit. They would have been in a Baltimore situation, and they don't draft as well as Baltimore. And Baltimore figured it out, and they were able to get Lamar Jackson at 32. Those situations just don't happen, because Mac Jones possibly could go number 3 overall. When Mac Jones is a possible 3rd overall pick, that the way that quarterbacks are drafted has dramatically changed from even a couple of years ago, when you could get Lamar Jackson, who, listen, a lot of the concerns that he had coming out of school remain concerns about him. I'm not in any way saying that he should have been drafted earlier, but you're not getting any quarterback who has any value whatsoever at number 32. Every quarterback that has any bit of worth is being drafted in the top 10. And then everybody else are just flyers that you're taking on day 2, day 3. But the late 1st round quarterback, I don't think it exists anymore. And And it's probably for the best. That's just market economics in play. And the 49ers would have been stuck in a situation where they're drafting late in the first round. They didn't get where they wanted to go. They decide they want to move on from the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, and then they don't have the ability to get a quarterback. So now they got to toss in another first-round pick and maybe a bunch of second and third-round picks and stuff like that. So it, as weird as it sounds, them missing out on Matt Stafford, them losing that Super Bowl, as painful as that is, I think if this works out at its optimum level, I think it's a blessing in disguise because it forced them to make this move today, here and now, and they're in a position to maximize that opportunity.
So let's talk about that optimum level. Let's say what I personally think they should do is get rid of Garoppolo. I think that era is over. I don't think dragging it out. People say have him play the Alex Smith role. You know who should play the Alex Smith role? Alex Smith, who's currently a free agent. Have him with whoever the rookie quarterback is. Let's say the rookie quarterback jumps in mid-season. The Niners are, 6-2, and they're starting to play some good football. How close are they to getting back to the Super Bowl? They have a great defense. They have some really good weapons. Brandon Ayuk looks really good. Deebo Samuel, Kittle's the second best tight end in football. Great offensive line. How close are they from getting back to the big game?
I mean, they're very close. I'll say
I think it's them in Tampa.
I think that's a very fair assessment. If they can win in the NFC West, they can beat anybody. Full stop. That division is tough. And while I think Seattle has taken a step back, and while I think that the Rams are one injury away from being, completely decimated, because they've just top loaded. You want to talk about a team that's taken out mortgages. Boy, the bubble's going to burst for them at some point. But Stafford is what they need. And Stafford, I think that the Rams and the 49ers should be looked at on equal footing. The 49ers have a better 52-man roster. You exclude the quarterbacks. I don't think there's a question there that the 49ers have the more complete, full, deeper roster. You add in the quarterbacks, suddenly I'd probably give the Rams an advantage. Seahawks are always going to be tough. I think the Cardinals have a chance to be on the come up. I don't really like what they did in free agency, but they have some young players that are really good and really interesting. And Kyler, I'm always going to be a believer in Kyler, even though I do have some concerns about his long-term ability to stay healthy just because he a tiny little guy. But that division is brutal, absolutely brutal, to the point where it's very difficult for me to envision a circumstance where the winner of the NFC West ever gets the first round bye. Like, that's how brutal that division is. At the same time, I don't look around the NFC and think, wow, juggernauts. Like Tampa, no question. They won the Super Bowl. Great team. Are they unbeatable? Get the hell out of here. No. I don't think Green Bay's any good. Full stop. Like, they're obviously better than the crap in their division. But like, I think Green Bay is poorly coached, especially on the defensive side. I think it's almost laughable how easy it is to run the ball against them if you decide you want to run the ball against them. I mean, Tampa Bay was able to do it. I mean, Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions in that game and they still won. I mean, how is that acceptable? They're a badly coached team. Obviously, they're going to have a new defensive coordinator. Maybe he won't go out with, dime packages against clear run fits. And maybe that helps. But I just think that there's a peculiarity and a toxicity to the situation in Green Bay that they can't get over. And the fact is they didn't add anybody. Oh, they brought back their running back. Congratulations. Like, he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong, but like,
running backs are winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Like, it's just, and hey, you're right there. You're right on the precipice. You were in the NFC Championship game back-to-back years. And each year you decided, you know what, let's make our roster a little bit worse. Like, let's make that happen. So, the NFC is wide open. Now the AFC is loaded. And so we can deal with that whenever we get to LA. But it's tough because Garoppolo, you're right. Kyle Shanahan doesn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. So why would Kyle Shanahan want Jimmy Garoppolo to be a mentor?
Exactly.
You want this quarterback to be everything Jimmy Garoppolo isn't,
it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. At the same time, I would like to note, as much as and listen, you're not the first person to bring up the Alex Smith should be Alex Smith thing. You know what Alex Smith doesn't know? This offense. He's never been in it. So why the hell would we bring in a guy who's learning the offense to teach the offense? That's like getting tutored from a kid in your own class. I mean, that might work out if the kid's a straight A student, but he's learning this material too. You guys are on the same level coming in. So I think that Garoppolo is probably the play. And I know that Jimmy Garoppolo sees himself as a better option than Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? Like, I'm not a Ryan Fitzpatrick type, but he's a Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
And by the way, Ryan Fitzpatrick would have been a better quarterback than him last year. So it's
probably.
It's just,
we'll see how it works out. They're on the same team, or same team, same organization.
We'll find out. So it depends on who the quarterback is too. If it's your guy, if it's Trey Lance, then I'm going to need a lot of Jimmy. I'm going to need a whole lot of Jimmy. If it's Mac Jones, just get him the hell out of there. Just go. Just trade him for something. But here's the deal. The Niners aren't in a position where they have to do anything. And I said this earlier, and I'll just repeat the point because I think it's important. Like, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to trade Jimmy. They can just cut him at the end of the year. And that would kind of, maybe someone will throw him a 3rd-round pick or something. But they can just cut his ass at the end of the year. Or maybe they're in Tuscaloosa right now talking to Bill Belichick in person.
I saw a picture 15 minutes ago. I saw them 4 talking. I don't know if they're talking Jimmy. I don't know if they're talking Mac Jones. I don't know if they're talking.
I'm fairly certain that they're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm fairly certain that they're bringing that up. And listen, I think that would work out really well for the 49ers. I think the Patriots would be happy. I'm not sure if it would work out for them, but I'm sure they'd be happy. Feel bad for Cam Newton, but they'll figure something out.
Cam not the guy. The thing with the NFC West, you mentioned, there's one clear flaw in that division, and it's Arizona's coach. Pete Carroll's a Hall of Famer. Pete Carroll's a Hall of Famer. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan are on the track.
Yeah.
You don't think Pete Carroll is? We just put Bill Carroll.
Oh, he's unquestioned. Pete Carroll's unquestionably a Hall of Famer. It's good that he's resting on those laurels.
And then there's Cliff Kingsbury, who's just like, I don't think Cliff's a good coach at all. And I don't think Arizona's going to go as far as he takes them, which I think is looking for a job come next January when Arizona's looking for a replacement.
I think that's accurate. At the same time, the talent is there, and there is this should probably come up with like some Bill Simmons name for this theory, which is teams that are overlooked by like nature and how it's always difficult to play like those teams. Like, no one ever thinks about the Arizona Cardinals ever. Just no one thinks about them. Even teams in their own division, they're like, oh yeah, in Arizona. And so then when you play Arizona, you're never as geared up as you should be. It's never a big game. You're never fully juiced. Whereas when the 49ers play the Rams, they're always juiced. When they play the Seahawks, they're always juiced. They're always ready to rumble. Yeah. And then Seattle is the runt, but they're no runt. Like, they have the talent to be a playoff caliber team. And you're right. Coaching is a massive issue. I don't dispute that in the least bit, but there's a lot of shitty coaches who have won a lot of games. So yeah. You got a quarterback like Kyler Murray. I don't know if it matters how bad of a coach you are. So long as that defense is coordinated, okay. It doesn't matter what the offense does, because Kyler Murray's just going to make things happen, man. That kid is special. He's awesome. I'm a Kyler believer. And if he can stay healthy, he's an MVP candidate. And again, that's what the 49ers are kind of looking for, right? You're in a division where you have an MVP candidate annually in Russell Wilson. You're going to have an annual MVP candidate in Kyler Murray, and you're going to have a Rams team that is always all in. They're never going to take a year off. They have the best player in football in the middle of their defensive line. They have one of the best one of the best defenders in football in their secondary. They got great receivers. Cam Akers is going to be a dude. They got one of the best left tackles, and now they got a damn good quarterback, one who's better than Garoppolo without question. And that you cannot rest on your laurels in that division. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, if you start the rookie, if you're the 49ers, you're going to finish in 4th. I disagree with that, because I think that Justin Fields can play better than Jimmy Garoppolo can this upcoming year if you time it right. But I don't know. I think just presuming that the Cardinals are going to fail because Cliff is there. I don't know if that's fait accompli. Like,
this is the make or break year for him.
There's no question about that. I'm with you. If they don't make the playoffs this year, he's probably screwed. They have to.
The NFC is not very good.
But you can't get 4 teams in.
No.
You can't get 4 teams in.
Someone's not going to make it. It's going to be interesting to see if they're in it.
And Seattle has never had a losing record with Russell Wilson.
I think this is the Seattle last place season. I think this is it. That's just the roster's not very good.
The 49ers better hope so, man, because we're
49ers
running out of
hope
places for them.
They better hope someone's healthy. We'll wrap this up talking a little more about you. Mizzou alum, talk about some of your experiences outside of Harpo's here in Columbia, Missouri.
I don't know if I had many experiences outside of Harpo's. Listen, this is what I tell people, and we're lucky that we've had, you've had a lot of Syracuse folks on the show.
Yep.
We all know about Northwestern. We're lucky that we have another school that's kind of jumped into the fray for really good journalism schools. I know that Maryland thinks that they have, but they have not. No. But Arizona State is coming, and they're coming strong. And what I appreciate about Arizona State and what I've loved about Mizzou and the challenge that I consistently offer to my school and to everybody there is just do. And so this is great what you're doing here. I think that was the big thing that separated Mizzou from me when I first was looking at journalism schools. A lot of places study journalism, like that's going to teach you anything or do anything. And Mizzou was all about hands-on, make something happen, do something. And when you get out into the real world, you quickly realize that Mizzou doesn't mean that much, just as Northwestern doesn't mean that much, or Syracuse, or Arizona State, or even Maryland. None of that stuff means anything. It's what you did and what you can do for prospective employers. And especially in this era now that you're coming into and frankly exists in this day and age where you got to self-create and you got to self-create journalism. Doing is everything. And that is the absolute ethos in Columbia. And that's the thing that makes me proudest. But every time I show up on campus, I just feel older and older. But it is still an incredibly special place to me. It's where I grew up. It's where I figured out all the a lot of the things that you have to do to just get by in decent society. Not sure if I do them, but I at least learn what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, it looks like you do it.
Yeah, we'll find out. And I'll tell you, man, just a special place with a bunch of people who want to do. And when you get that going, I've been very lucky, and I've also been very unfortunate throughout my career to be in a bunch of different jobs. And there's been one place, which I'm no longer at. Sadly, we all got shut down. There's been one place where everybody was rowing in the same direction. And the thrill that you get from that feeling of everybody just rowing in the same direction, everyone knowing their responsibilities and doing it to the best of their ability, is really special in the real world. But it's something that I found time and time again at Mizzou. And I'm just, thinking back on it, just so grateful to have experienced that kind of competition, that kind of energy, because it allowed me when I got out into the real world, and it sucks out here. I'm telling you right now, stay in the bubble as long as you can. It reminds me, it reminds me of that, how special that is to get that vibe. And so yeah, that's my main thing I take away, time and time again when I talk to people about Mizzou, just that energy, that competition. It drove you to be better. It forced you to up your game, and it forced you to get out of your comfort zone. And that sure as hell beats anybody who's sitting around reading a book about what journalism was like in 1942.
Yeah, no, it's all real. The Mizzou method, the Mizzou strategy. Next time you come over on campus, you gotta hit me up. We'll go out sometime.
That's a deal. That is absolutely a deal. And I know all the places. Hopefully they haven't been raised and have apartments replace them quite yet. But I think we'll find out. Years away. Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Huge thanks to Dieter for coming on and talking all things 49ers, from the draft to Jimmy G to Kyle Shanahan, and always love to talking to another Missouri Tiger on his days here in Columbia, the best journalism school in the country. Sorry, Syracuse guys. Coming up next on the Harrison Vapnek podcast, I think we're going to have Aaron Torres from Fox Sports to recap the NCAA tournament. We got the Final Four finishing up today. National Championship Monday. We're going to talk to Aaron early next week to recap the NCAA tournament and see who wins the 2021 National Championship. So stay tuned for that. And as always, have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the Harrison Vapnek podcast. See ya.